find data to get over $200 million in grants.
Jeez.
Yeah. And he was outside selling the money off for like Amazon.
This was a joke.
Yeah, it's been very quiet. He's been very good at computer. UTEP was very good at hush-hushing things.
So researching what type of field?
Medical, biomedical research.
Wow.
So, $200 million. They have to pay back.
Well, they're still half missing.
Yeah. They may have come to something and say, well, maybe he used some of that actually was real stuff and maybe not. I don't know what it is. They may have said, well, they may have settled on this number too.
So was there a whistleblower?
Yeah. One of this guy worked for him was a whistleblower. So he gets he's getting some ungodly amount of money to be whistleblower. I don't know. How do y'all feel about that?
I don't know.
To the whistleblowers?
Yeah. The whistleblowing is good. And protection from whistleblowing is good. But how about these rewards for doing it?
I think they should because they're going to lose their career.
Oh, that's true.
They might. They should, but they probably are. But this guy's going to get some, it's a percentage of the amount, is what it is. So this guy, this whistleblower is going to
But he did it without.
Blow the whistle a little earlier.
Why does he get
I'll wait till he runs that up a little bit.
But he didn't know. He didn't know he was going to get a percent. So.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, he does?
This is federal law. Yeah, the whistleblower.
I didn't know that.
Huh.
Shit, that would be a big whistleblower.
I know.
I think it's a harder choice because at work you spend more time with your coworkers than anybody else in your life sometimes.
Yeah.
So it's even if you know.
I don't know, but if you know they're doing something wrong, like, do you still
My question is,
that's like a real philosophical question.
I mean, did he wait till he got to 200 million?
And then he decided.
If I turn him in now, I'll only get this much.
Well, yeah, they do.
I see, that's a weird one because it is incentive to do it, like you were saying. But I don't know. I mean, he's getting like someone millions of dollars for this. It's a percentage.
You have to be sure. I mean, how does he? If he wasn't sure.
Yeah. What if he thought? What if he thought that it would change or he would be correct about it?
Oh, I know. It's just weird. Anyway, I guess I'm pretty sure the guy's going to jail.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Blood pressure. You guys will be seeing this because mine's always high. Thanks to students for the most part. All right. What is your systolic? What's your diastolic? What's your pulse pressure? What's your NAP? You all should know these off the top of your head. Systolic is?
When it goes up.
The higher the low number.
The high.
And what determines your systolic blood pressure?
The pressure from the psh.
From the what?
Contraction.
Yeah.
And then people squeeze out.
Yeah.
Right. Cardiac output.
Yeah. Both of you.
Ejection pressure, right? Diastolic is going to be when it's relaxed, okay? Pulse pressure is what? The difference between the two. And your MAP is going to be what?
Is
Map.
It's going to be mean arterial pressure.
Oh.
plus 1/3 of.
Yeah, good. And this is really the one that you're talking about, right? You look at your MAP. All right. Let's get this AP. Okay, factors influencing physical blood volume, elastic properties of the blood vessels. That's all has to do with atherosclerosis, right? Why does elasticity have anything to do with this?
What's your question?
Said property, the elastic properties of blood vessels. Is a physical. Why does that matter?
Well, because it.
Contract.
Okay, if they can't, what happens?
It'll be
You're-
too constricted.
And what's that going to do to blood pressure?
Raise it.
That's going to raise it. You can't contract elasticity. You can't have that elasticity. You're going to not be able to increase that diameter, which is going to keep your blood pressure high. Now, how to cardiac output and how to peripheral vascular resistance. What is the main determinant of blood pressure, systemic blood pressure? Systemic. What is the main regulator of systemic blood pressure?
Your blood vessels, isn't
Which ones?
Like you're asking arteries or veins, or what are you asking?
Which ones?
it? Well, how many are there?
Which one? Okay, let's eliminate part of it. Is it going to be your veins?
No.
No. There's almost zero on what the blood pressure minuscule in your venous system. So it's going to be your arterial system, right?
Right.
Which part of your arterial system?
Well,
Your
the capillaries, isn't it their job?
Is it the capillaries?
It's their job to like.
that's where the diffusion happens.
Yeah. So then it controls the flow. Well, the flow.
You might want to reconsider.
Arterials?
Arterioles. Your arterioles, those are the ones that have the main smooth muscle. They are the main determinant or main regulators of of systemic blood pressure via peripheral resistance based on diameter. Greater the diameter, the lower the blood pressure. The lower the diameter,
Higher.
or the smaller the diameter, the higher the blood pressure.
Aluminum.
How about cardiac output?
Well, yeah, because isn't it like when your heart's relaxed and then when it's pumping stuff?
But how does that affect mean arterial blood pressure?
Well, that's how much is, how much,
If you pump
the
slowly.
volume.
The more volume you squeeze into a particular size tube, the higher the
Pressure.
pressure. All right. Most common cause of what is secondary hypertension?
Not from the vessel.
Right. Something other than just directly from the vasculature. Kidney disease, renal vascular hypertension. I want to go into this a little bit. Adrenocortical disorders. You start producing too much of this. Phenochromocystoma. This is a rare genetic disorder. Coarticulation of the aorta. That's a genetic disorder. How about sleep apnea? Hold on a second here. Only deaf at certain frequencies. Okay, fine. All right. The one I'm real concerned about is going to be kidney disease. How does sleep apnea?
Because you stop breathing.
When you stop breathing,
Oxygen.
what's going to happen?
Oxygen.
So what happens to tissue perfusion if you stop breathing?
It's gonna decrease.
Hypoxia, right? You get hypoxia, you stop breathing, you have oxygen, so your peripheral resistance, you're going to try and do what? What does your body try and do when it gets hypoxic? What are the
Get oxygen again.
right? So how does it? What's its main way of trying to do that? It's going to try and what? Increase the rate, so it's going to increase the pressure, right? So these problems at night can cause this. How about kidney disease? Kidney disease and high blood pressure is sort of this vicious round and round circle, right? Kidney disease can lead, chronic CKD can lead to what? Chronic kidney disease. This is a huge problem in the U.S. And most people don't even know they have it. Right? So we'll do a little kidney lab. No, we don't have that.
There's no symptoms.
So what is chronic kidney disease? Probably get the kidneys later on, because I want to get the kidneys. So just we won't go into the whole thing about it, but it's just what? Long-term loss of what? Renal function, okay? What is one of the main contributors to chronic kidney disease? There's 3 or 4 of them. One of them 3. What are the main ones? Who worries about getting chronic kidney disease?
Diabetics?
Diabetics is one of them. What's the second main cause?
Hypertensive people.
Hypertension. But what did you say? Common cause of secondary hypertension, but I think you said hypertension just caused chronic kidney disease.
Well, it's because it puts so much pressure on the kidneys and screws them up.
You just said this is causing it.
They cause each other.
This is that circle I talked about.
Yeah.
This vicious circle you get in.
So you don't know what came first, kind of.
It could be either way. You can either have chronic kidney disease, which will lead to hypertension, because not everybody with hypertension gets chronic kidney disease, or not everybody with chronic kidney disease has hypertension first. It can be both. It's the chicken and the egg thing. One can cause it, and then this one's going to, chronic kidney disease is going to lead to hypertension. How do you think chronic kidney disease can lead to hypertension?
Well, because it's not able to filter and it has those mechanisms to control the blood flow. So, I mean, if it's not working, then how?
Not so much oxygen, it's going to be fluid balance, and it's going to be changes, what's getting out, what's being reabsorbed. Also, the renin-angiotensin system, all that stuff's going to whack. And I want to cover that. I want to go with that one for sure because you guys are going to be seeing chronic kidney disease.
Yeah.
It's one of the major increasing things to deal with. All right. Systolic pressure is the characteristic of stroke volume being ejected from the heart and the ability of the heart to stretch and accommodate that stroke volume. So in the heart, when you get an ejection from the left ventricle, the aorta should do what? Expand, right? To take that pressure. When the valve closes, it contracts and it keeps pushing it on out, right? Okay. Diastolic is the energy that is stored in the aorta as its elastic fibers are stretched during systole, and the resistance to the runoff of blood from the peripheral blood vessels. What do they mean by this? Well, let me go back here. Why do we worry about high diastolic blood pressure? Because it's still going to be lower than systolic, right?
Can that be like your lungs hypertension, pulmonary hypertension?
No, pulmonary hypertension is
Or aortic.
aortic. No, not really.
No.
Why would you guys, and it may come up here later, so I'm going to bounce around on this, so you happen to know this. I mean, the top of my head, I can talk around this. Why do you worry about, so what's normal blood pressure?
120 over 80.
120 over 80, okay? So if I'm at 120 over 95, why do I care? It's still way below 120.
Yeah, I don't know.
Because it's
Because the blood depth in systolic isn't getting pumped out.
From where?
back.
Right there. So what happens? What do you have to overcome during ventricular contraction to eject the blood into systemic circulation?
So it's not coming out.
Okay, go back. We'll go through it slow. What do you have to overcome during left ventricular contraction in order
Going.
the blood pressure?
Gradient.
Nope, that's inside.
So the ventricular pressure.
Okay, the ventricular pressure contraction, ventricular pressure goes up. What pressure do you have to overcome to get that ejection to go out? You have to open a semilunar valve, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what pressure do you have to overcome?
The pressure that's coming in.
Good. The backflow is pushing the door shut, which is your diastolic blood pressure. I just spit on myself. Sorry. That's your diastolic blood pressure. The point is, the higher that diastolic pressure, the harder it is to do what?
Close.
Open that door to get the blood to go out. The harder it is,
Is that like ventricular fibrillation?
no, that's ventricular fibrillation is when the ventricles are going. When
So-
you better be in the hospital right there.
But there's also atrial, right?
AFib's.
But it's
AFib's not the big
not as
deal.
bad, right?
What's the problem with AFib? What's the main, you see commercials for it all the time. What's the main pathological concern for atrial?
I thought it was high blood pressure, period.
Nah, not really. I
Is
didn't.
it doesn't stop the.
Yeah, because really most of the blood just flows through the atrium, right?
Yeah.
That last little squeeze just gets that last little bit in there.
I thought
It's
it was.
blood clots.
Oh.
That's the main concern for AFib. Is you get that fibrillation, you
That's
start
why they
to
put
clot.
me on any of those medications.
So what are we saying about the diastolic then? When it's high like that, we're worried about backflow.
No, you're good. Okay, so here's your ventricle, right?
Uh huh.
And here's your aorta, right?
Yeah.
And here's your semilunar valve.
Yeah.
So you've got diastolic blood pressure is pushing against that door, right?
Right.
When this contracts, ventricular pressure goes up, right?
Yeah.
Okay, if this is 80, all I need to get overcome, all I need to overcome is 80, right?
Right.
So theoretically, you can have 81. Theoretically, right?
Right.
To open that door and blood goes out.
Right.
If this is 95,
It's not pushing hard enough.
now, it's not, well, if it doesn't push hard enough, you just died.
Yeah.
That's gonna be really
No, but
bad.
it needs more pressure to open.
So what is that gonna cause?
More strain.
High blood pressure.
No, you already got high blood pressure. That's high blood pressure right there.
The backflow. You're gonna have.
That's what I was asking about
You already got that.
backflow.
You already got that backflow. This
Okay.
is backflow. That's already high. Chronic diastolic hypertension.
Well, what if it causes your heart to work harder? Maybe
So
like
if your heart has
That's
to
what
work
it's
harder,
trying. He doesn't
your heart's a big
muscle.
muscle, so when muscles work harder, they
Grow.
get bigger, so you get
Oh.
ventricular hypertrophy. Right?
Oh.
Ventricular hypertrophy, it's having to work harder to overcome that back pressure to open that semilunar valve. Okay? Doesn't sound like that big of a deal, right? Bigger muscle should be better, right? The problem is this is bad. Over time, you get what?
Too big.
Buildup of muscle.
You get that built-up ventricular hypertrophy, it gets smaller, the volume gets smaller, and then over time you get what?
The myocard.
So how does an exercise cause?
What is that called? Huh? No, that's heart attack. No, stroke.
Well,
Isn't it that when you were telling us where the valves they get kind of faulty and screw up?
No, this gets thicker and thicker and thicker and thicker and thicker and thicker.
So you have less.
It actually gets bigger right here too.
So it can't really contract, right? But I forgot what it's like called.
It's like to the end.
It does start with an
Is it
M.
myopathy?
Huh?
Myopathy, is what you said?
Is it that?
Cardiomyopathy.
Is it that?
So what happens toward the end is it actually gets saggy. Somebody say it?
Yeah, he's saying it. I don't think you like this side.
Was that a yes?
Because I said strain, which is the
Good. And what is cardiomyopathy?
I don't know.
The word
Like
just.
thickening of the.
Actually gets saggy, it loses its ability to contract and it actually flips around. And it gets saggy and kind of, and it can't contract anymore. If you can't contract, you have trouble what? Overcoming that whole thing. So really bad cardiomyopathy is can kill you actually. Oh,
and
good.
this is because it's constant. Like exercise can't cause this because it's only 30, 45 minutes.
Exercise is the flip. People like long distance runners or people have hard cardiac output, they get ventricular hypertrophy too, but it's good. And they're still teasing out the mechanism. I started writing a paper on it the other day, a couple weeks ago, and they're starting to tease out why the differences are. That why one's good and why the other one's bad.
Yeah,
And it may have to do with the consistency of you're constantly having to do that, whereas the other one, you're sort of working that muscle out.
yeah,
and then it's
it
getting
stops.
changed. Yeah.
So, as far as I know we need to learn this because, clinicians and everything, but as far as the test goes, are we needing to know about cardiomyopathy and ventricular hypertrophy, or are you just wanting us to know the basics of
Yes, I
what
want to
dial
know
is
about
for?
cardiomyopathy and ventricular
Okay.
hypertrophy, because those are all related to this.
Okay.
So, persistence of pressure in the blood as it moves through the arterial blood pressure. Cardiac output, which is going to be heart rate times stroke volume. Good, is cardiac output. We'll see. Okay. Vascular resistance is going to be caused by what?
The elasticity.
Part of it's elasticity. The other part's going to be that.
Length?
Yeah, the length, viscosity, not viscosity, the length and
So
elasticity.
you could lose length.
Hmm?
You could lose length.
No, that doesn't change, but it's one that's involved in it. Yeah. You also have, what's another one that's involved in vascular resistance? Not directly, but indirectly. It doesn't change very much either. The main one is going to be diameter, right? And then some blood flow. Like you get real bad atherosclerosis, you can actually interrupt blood flow a little bit. Mainly it's going to be elasticity. But what's the other one that they can? So there were three when you went through AEP2. Length, elasticity.
Volume?
Volume's not going to be resistance as much. Huh?
The,
No, that's first we talked about what?
The diameter?
No, that's what we talked about. I'll talk about that's all the same thing. Diameter, you get that contraction,
I thought that was
resistance. What else? What's gonna restrict movement of fluid through a tube?
What's going to move it?
What's gonna affect its rate?
Diameter being.
It had physics.
But you said viscosity or something.
Viscosity. Good, exactly. That's the other one is viscosity. Does viscosity change much though? It doesn't. It can a little bit. What's the main determiner of viscosity? Too much waters?
No.
No. Too much water, you're gonna what?
Is it the sugar? Too much sugar?
Not so much. Boy, if you had enough glucose floating in your blood that you're changing viscosity, you'd probably be in bad shape.
So how do you fix that?
That fix what?
High blood pressure.
High blood pressure?
Oh, that's a waste, yeah.
What could affect viscosity, guys? It doesn't change much. Too much water, your kidneys are gonna what?
Pee,
Right?
yeah.
You want volume, because that's gonna affect volume.
Mm-hmm.
Too much blood?
Huh?
Too much blood?
Okay, well, what would be, well, not too much blood.
Well, it's 'cause you're-
Volume.
really
Come on, think.
Your kidneys tell it to
Plasma
go.
proteins?
Lipids?
Well, no, what involves your plasma protein?
Lipids?
No, could be lipids, not so much. Boy, you get that much in it, you're.
Well, what if you're not excreting the water? Like,
Okay, where are we going here? I'm dancing around the answer here. Talk about too much water is not gonna do it, so. If too much water won't do it,
Little.
too little water. Dehydration is the one thing that can affect viscosity. You get way super dehydrated, you can actually start affecting hydration. I mean, not affecting viscosity. And then mean arterial pressure is gonna be what? Cardiac outbound. All right, times vascular resistance, and vascular resistance is another way to calculate that. All right, which supply does not directly affect arterial blood pressure? Oh, come on, should we that one right away? Which one? C?
Yeah, C.
C?
Yeah.
Why would it be C?
Well, it's a vein.
It's a vein, right?
It says arterial.
Hey, it's like arterial blood pressure, it's your venous system. Even if I just put blood pressure, oh wait, hold on. Even if I just got rid of this,
Yeah.
sorry. Is it gonna be venous constriction?
Yeah.
No.
Still gonna be the same answer,
Yeah.
right? Because venous doesn't. What is the only way the venous system can affect blood pressure?
Clot, maybe?
No, even then that's gonna. It has to do with the. It's an dendritic peptide. AMP. Abbreviation for it. Hey, do you have any?
Oh, the atrial and something like that.
Dendritic peptide. What does it do?
It increases it.
It increases what?
Because that's the hormone that the heart produces.
Okay, what part of the heart?
The lower part.
Wait, you said it's the atrial dendritic peptide, so it would be the lower part of the.
I mean the atrial.
Okay, so venous return, if you have increased venous return, that means you're getting too much blood going into your atrium. That's the one way you can affect it, would be blood volume. A&P actually does the opposite. It tells you to get rid of more water. It's the opposite. What does the renin-angiotensin system do, and what does ADH do?
Increases, like if you have low blood pressure, right?
That's the blood pressure.
What is it? Which way does it affect blood pressure?
Would
Okay.
depend.
Reabsorption.
Because antidiuretic stops the water.
Stops P, yeah.
ADH.
Hormone.
Angiotensin.
In renin-angiotensin system, are you more acutely concerned about hypertension or hypotension? Acutely.
Oh.
Hypotension, right? Because you do increased hypotension is going to decrease.
Wait, say
I'm picking out because
Say it again.
it's going to decrease. I don't know what happened with other AP2.
Your blood pressure.
It's going to what?
Wait, what did you say?
I don't know. I
Say that
forgot
again.
to. What did I
Say that
say?
again.
Yeah.
Say the question.
Hypotension will decrease.
Large increase in hypotension. How is that going to affect you? How's that going to affect the body? Why is the body concerned about acute drops in blood pressure?
Everything's
shock.
Yeah.
Oxygen.
Shut down.
and
Oxygen, what's that called?
Gas exchange, like the trans.
That's not.
What's it called? So oxygen, if my blood pressure drops,
Your body goes into shock.
why? What is the problem? What is the acute problem? Why are your kidneys, why are all your main mechanisms designed to raise blood pressure? Those will get out of whack, that's why we get high blood pressure.
Hypo's a dangerous one.
Why?
Because you can't transport oxygen, you can't transport nutrients, you can't do
There's
anything.
no why.
Because it's going through the blood and it
So
can't.
why? I'm gonna be-
Organs will die.
Good, perfusion. If you get a huge decrease if you're very hypotensive, you lose that perfusion, you lose that blood supply going through your tissues. You don't get blood, you don't get nutrients, at least your body. Oxygen is the big problem. Right?
Yeah.
So you get what? What's that called when you don't have blood supply?
I mean,
Hypoxia, right? When you start having that, you don't have enough blood supply. So that's why that's the big concern. All right. So short-term regulatory mechanisms, these are temporary. These are going to be neuronal and hormonal. Okay? How do you adjust blood pressure neuronally? This is short term, bam, bam, bam.
Cardiac output?
Yeah, cardiac output, actually cardiac output too.
Oh, yeah, the dilation and constriction
Good, of what?
of the arteries.
Arterial, good. So those are gonna be short term, are gonna be cardiac output and peripheral resistance. That's how you're gonna do it. If your blood pressure starts to drop, your brain, or you need more oxygen, your brain's gonna tell your heart to do what? Beat faster, and your vessels are gonna what?
Constrict.
Dilate. The ones you need, not, constrict, actually.
And then
Depending on where they are.
hormonal would that be the ADH?
Hormonal are gonna be which ones? Short-term hormones. This is the confusing part.
So it's not ADH.
Epinephrine and norepinephrine, those are gonna be the short-term ones, right? Adrenaline, right? These are hormonal too, and these are gonna be renal mechanisms are gonna be long-term. Takes longer to do.
The renal, the long term?
Renal's long-term regulation controls daily, weekly, and monthly regulation of blood pressure. These are gonna be what? Hormonal as well, right? It's gonna be the angiotensin system and ADH, okay?
The RAS?
The thing that people get confused about is when they teach it AMP2, and I actually kind of do it myself, is they make it sound like these systems only kick in once in a while, like people who have high blood pressure, right? So these things are not always working. They make it sound like when something gets out of whack, that's when these things start working. Are these things working all the time?
Oh.
Is your renin angiotensin system working all the time? Is your ADH system working all the time? Yes. If it wasn't, would those medications work? Think of it that way.
That's true.
If I took an ACE inhibitor, an angiotensin convertase inhibitor, and this thing wasn't turned on, would it do any good?
No.
No. So these things are always going long-term to regulate your blood pressure. Okay? They just don't do it in the short term. This is long-term regulation. If they didn't, if I took that system to inhibit this pathway right here, and it only worked every once in a while, would the medication do any good?
No.
No.
Only
Because
once in a
what
while.
you're doing is you're inhibiting this system because it's gotten out of whack and it's on all the time. That's why it's raising your blood pressure. All right. So systolic pressure less than 120 and a diastolic pressure less than 80 is what? Normal. Now you guys are gonna have to look at this because what have they done down here? What do they just do?
Looks increased.
They just change these parameters down here for what hypertension and pre-hypertension are. Okay? So, but
So
for the
these-
test, we're going to use these numbers because these are where the things come from. So the systolic pressure between 120 and 139 and a diastolic pressure between 80 and 89 is considered what?
Pre-hypertensive.
Pre-hypertensive. They've actually kind of gotten rid of this now. If you are between here and here now, they're starting to worry about it and say you may actually be hypertensive. So when you start looking at something, they've changed the numbers on the diastolic especially. Okay? But we're going to go with this. A diagnosis of hypertension is when your systolic pressure is what? Above 140 or above, and your diastolic is 90 or above. And for adults with diabetes mellitus, it's going to be what? 130 over 80. They've also dropped down one of the other ones to closer to 130. They're not saying you're hypertensive yet, but they're saying you might want to start looking at changes now. Before that, they just wanted to look at what? If I was at 130 over 85,
They would have said.
what would I, 2 years ago, what would they have said?
Pre-hypertensive.
Pre-hypertensive. What would the recommendation from you for this, from you guys be?
There's probably changes.
Change
You
what?
might be hypertensive.
Diet.
Diet, what else?
Exercise.
Exercise, weight, what else?
Stresses.
Sodium intake, decrease alcohol intake, stop smoking, there's 100 different things, lifestyle changes, right?
Yeah.
Now they're starting to change some of these recommendations, and I don't know where they're gonna go with these, so I'll let you all deal with those when you get to the hospital. For us, we're gonna use this one right here. They worry about diabetes, why?
No.
Hypertension.
Huh? Yeah, but this is 130 over 80. 80 is fine.
No. Right, so it's less than, so.
Okay, that'd be 9. But why? That's not bad. Why? What are we talking about? What does diabetes lead to?
Hypertension.
Chronic kidney disease, this is all they worry about. You're already stressing your kidneys with the diabetes, and you want to put more stress on them too at that point. All right, so primary hypertension is where you go through it. It's a chronic elevation of blood pressure that occurs without what? Evidence. And this is a confusing one because usually the way they do things, this would be primary, right? The way I would have worded it, you know some cause of it, and this would be secondary. My point is people flip these a lot.
Okay.
Doesn't it make sense to you the other way around?
Yeah.
Usually you would think primary, they found some reason for it.
Yeah.
If it's secondary, they don't know. This is the other way around. Because these are caused by what? Some other organ dysfunction out there. So that's why they call it secondary. Secondary is going to be result from what? Other disorder, chronic kidney disease is the main one. Okay. Primary is what? Chronically elevated blood pressure of unknown etiology. They don't know what's causing it. Okay? Malignant hypertension is what?
Or it just comes on suddenly, maybe?
And it just goes way up, starts going way up. Malignant hypertension. What's hypertensive crisis? We'll do that in a moment too.
Were you about to have a heart attack?
Maybe. What is hypertensive crisis? Because you have primary hypertension and secondary hypertension. Or stage 1 hypertension, stage 2 hypertension, then you have hypertensive crisis. I need to look at the numbers. So let me look at the numbers. I don't know what hypertensive crisis is anymore. But it used to be 210 over 160, I think, was hypertensive crisis. Somewhere along those lines. Maybe 140, actually. Let me look. I don't remember what they actually changed.
Not to die with that?
I know.
Point is, when your blood pressure gets that high, what are you concerned about?
A sudden heart attack.
For what? Heart attack's not going to be the main one. What's going to be the main one? If your heart's going to compensate, keep that.
Stroke?
Stroke it out. That's what we're going to worry about here. An aneurysmic stroke.
Because
Boom.
those vessels are so tiny in there and they
You're
can't
gonna
handle
blow
the
a vessel.
pressure. Got it.
Systolic hypertension, it's systolic pressure of 140 or greater and a diastolic pressure of what?
90.
Which is around normal. This is systolic hypertension. This tends to happen more in who?
Men?
No, as you age. This is one of the ones that happens in age. When people's systolic. Because you lose that elasticity so much. Elasticity doesn't affect the diastolic as much as it does the systolic. So when you get older, stuff will start to drop off.
The crisis got changed to 180 to 120.
180 over 1, oh, so it's 180 over 120, so I was off. Maybe that's, I had a friend that had those numbers that were that high. Because he actually had a little stroke, he had a small stroke. Now this is what you have to worry about clinicians. I had another friend, I got a lot of thinking.
Yeah, you have crazy
I had
stuff.
another friend who they took him in for hypertensive crisis. What is it, 180 over 120? That makes more sense. That one was a little bit high. I think that's what my friend had, but this is above 200. But this is another thing that can happen. So you've got a patient, he's in hypertensive crisis, what do you need to do?
Cool him down?
You got a patient coming in, what are you going to do?
Like,
You got a patient right here. Actually, he's at 190 over 130. Just call his family and say, yeah, no,
sorry.
Start making plans.
Will you use one of the short-term regulators?
Okay, but how are you gonna normally? Usually, remember, most of the regulators are designed to do what? Most of them are designed to increase those. You gotta be careful. You can try and kick in the parasympathetic and try and drop it down, but that's hard to do, right? What are you gonna do? Light some candle, a little aromatherapy.
Call the doctor and tell him.
Call the doctor.
Tell me what to do.
I'm out of here. You're going to give massive amounts of what? Diuretics, a bunch of antihypertensive medications. Vasodilators, which will be some of the therapeutic of the hormonal, short-term hormonal ones. Vasodilators, diuretics. Then that's what happened to this one friend of mine, and they gave him the first round of treatment, I forgot what it is, and then it didn't get low enough, so they gave him another one, it didn't get low, they gave him another one, and then what happened?
It's too low.
He went massively hypotensive on him. And so he almost died from hypovolumetric shock from that.
They seem to be really concerned about temperature control, like in ER I noticed. Like they're either trying to heat somebody up or cool somebody down, it seems like most of the time.
Well, are they?
I would think they would try to cool them down when they're...
The temperature?
Yeah, like they go crazy and they're like,
But, wait, hold on, you locked me on here.
because their blood pressure's going high. I would think they would start to like try to cool them down with those blankets they have and all that weird stuff they have.
Well, I mean, it does slow everything down.
They seem like really concerned about temperature control. I don't know if it's UMC.
When they're in hypertensive crisis, or?
Everything. As soon as they come in, they're like trying to do stuff with temperature, like
When you get a
always.
regular temperature, I know that.
And then their rooms are really hot for the most part.
Really?
Yeah, they keep them really
When
warm.
you get the ERs are nice and what?
Oh.
I think cold.
Oh, at UMC, they're hot. The trauma rooms,
Small rooms?
they're hot.
Okay, let's go to this. I don't know.
I would. That's what I was asking if that maybe.
I don't know. Like, I know if you cool them down, everything starts to slow down. That might start bringing down pressure. Usually they do it therapeutically first. They use the first one. Which one?
Secondary.
Secondary. Renal failure is a result of sodium and water retention. This results from hypertension. Would be what?
Secondary.
All right. Risk factors for hypertension. Family history. If you had a family member that has it, there may be a big genetic component to this. Okay. Age-related change in blood pressure. Remember I talked about it, especially systolic. As you get older, what happens to your heart output?
Less.
It can get change a little bit, get less, but what happens to your,
The elasticity.
Sign up pressure.
you start getting all that loss of elasticity and everything else, you start getting increasing that blood pressure, right? You get calcification of your aorta. Your aorta gets calcified, it can't do what? It can't expand. Insulin resistance and metabolic abnormalities, this is going to cause it. Circadian variations, what does that mean? What have they shown about circadian variations?
Sleeping.
Sleep, but what does it mean?
Like if you're not on your circadian rhythm.
Okay, that's going to be lack of sleep.
Don't you get high blood pressure if you don't sleep well?
Yep, and what else have they shown also some, when they talk about these circadian rhythms variations, I don't know if it's in your book or not. What have they shown about people who work nights now versus people who work days? Even if they get enough sleep.
Their immune system's way lower, isn't it?
They're starting to find out they have all kinds of issues, and
Wow.
tend to be hypertensive sometimes too. Because your circadian rhythms, a lot of them are determined by the photos system, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you're flipping that around, they're starting to find out that people who work nights, who work nights all the time are starting to have more chronic issues. And then what are some lifestyle factors?
Smoking.
Drinking.
Salt.
Diet.
Salt, sodium intake, there's still some question about that one. In terms of whether you're susceptible to it, but yeah, we'll definitely throw it in there. What else?
Smoking, drinking.
Smoking, drinking, what?
Lack
Stress.
of exercise.
Lack of exercise,
Stress.
stress.
Nursing school.
School.
Their eating habits.
Eating habits in general, what else?
Marriage.
Which three?
Dating.
What?
Dating.
What else? What about drinking?
We said that.
It's
I know, what about drinking?
Oh.
Could be good.
Is it too high sodium? No. But you hear it more.
Of ADH.
Huh?
Drink. It's like a
Alcohol is a mild diuretic, actually. Very mild diuretic.
Not for me.
How is all drinking bad?
No.
For blood pressure. Another new study just came out.
Moderation.
Moderation.
Moderation. So what is high? So what? If you drink, if I were to go pound 2 shots of vodka right now,
Still college
what would
days.
happen to my blood pressure?
Would it,
What would happen if I
would it
took?
go lower?
It drops. It would drop.
It drops. Initially, it drops because it's a vasodilator.
Then
But chronic heavy alcohol